And we're back, and it's COMP397, and it's winter 2016, week 6, lesson 6, part 2 of our broadcast. And we just finished off getting going with this real stuff. When we run it, the game looks like this now. So if I refresh the game, and by the way, this will be live on Azure by now too, right? Because I've uploaded to GitHub. If I click spin, 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 I get the wheels spinning nicely now. Okay? There we go. Notice that most of them come out as blanks and so on. Okay, here's what I want to do next. I need to set up my credits, right? And I need to modify my background image so that I can contain a place to put my stuff, to show my credits and everything else, and my bet amounts and all that stuff. I need to set all that up, right? Because I can't set up winnings without doing any of that. So this is the next piece that I need to set up for my little slot machine, okay? Let's get back to doing this. So, okay. I need some spaces for this, and I need to decide how I'm going to lay them out. So I'm going to go do that in Fireworks. So go back to here, get rid of this. And just to be more accurate, my image doesn't actually look like this anymore. It's actually like this. That's more accurate because that's what I've done with my, this is my prototype. My mock-up is what I've called it. It's actually up online for you too, if you want to follow along. All right, so here's my mock-up. What I want to do here is I want to go into there's going to be the jackpot up here. I want to set that up here. And down here, I want to set up a couple areas where there is like, you know, my credits, my credits, my bet amount, I need that, and my winnings. Those are the three things I need down here. Credits, bet amount, winnings, right? So what did I win? What did I bet? How much money do I have? And then up here, how much is the jackpot? All right, so with that, I need some kind of container that I'm going to put on the screen. Let's do that. So I'm going to kind of draw an object on the screen. There we are. There's my object. It's going to be, again, I can make it black or white. I think I'm going to make it black in this case. My background is black. Yeah, this is just modification again. And I want to, instead of my border being this checkered border or whatever, this dotted border, I want to make it a kind of a rounded line. And I want to make my border this color, this white color, or this gray color, but I want to make it like 3 or 4 wide. Let's see if it's 4. There we go. That kind of matches up with what I had. Maybe 3 might be even better. Let's try 3. Yeah, that might be okay. 3. So there's my, this rectangle is where my stuff is going to be. I'm going to kind of center it here. So I'm going to kind of put it at the top of my screen. There we go. And I want to make this larger, right, so that I can fit text. Now, I don't know how big my text is going to be. What's the right thing to do in my mock-up? Test the text. See how much text I need, how big it's going to be, and how wide my object is going to be. So in here, I'm going to take a text value. I'm going to make this text, again, I can make it white or red. I like the kind of a red color. But for now, we can leave it as is, as black. And I'm going to call, I'm going to make this thing a big number, like 99,999, right? There it is. And then I'm going to change that background text color, the text color to white, let's say, or red. Let's make it red, just to make it interesting. There we go. So 99999. All right, there we go. And I want to. It's consoleless, which is kind of cool. This is the right retro look and feel to the text. This is what I want. It's going to match up with my buttons. So I view consoleless for everything else too. And it's kind of small. It's kind of small text. Let's make it so that it's 14. Let's see if 14 is the right size. That's kind of a little better, right? And I definitely want to start right justified. So it's going to be probably text that starts like this on the right. And I don't know if I want to add a comma in there or not. For now, I may not add a comma, but something like this will be fine, right? If I want to extend this text, it'll be like this. Here's my text. I'm just going to extend it so you can see this. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to use the text object to right justify it. Instead of being centered, I'm going to right justify to the right. And I'm going to go down just a little bit. So that's where my text object is going to be. Okay, right justified. Now, again, you can do this. You know, I put 99,999. And if I want to fill it up, I can actually put more 9s there, right? It can fill up all these things with 9s. Why am I using 9s and not 0 or something else? 9s are big, right? 9s are wide, right? So 9s are probably, or 8s or something like that would be the right thing to use. So I can fit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 9s here. That's pretty big numbers, right? I don't know if I'm going to have a jackpot that big, but hey. And then zeros are the other thing you can test, right? So let's test this one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 zeros. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Because zeros are pretty big. That's 7 zeros. Okay, cool. So that's where this first element's going to go. If I was to zoom out, it's going to look like this on the screen. And let's see if it looks balanced. It kind of looks like a balanced look. This is where my numbers are going to be. And now that I've got these two objects here, like this rectangle and this number, right? Again, this is just a mock-up, okay? This rectangle, I'm going to copy this and paste it somewhere down here, right? So copy it, paste it, and I'll move it. I'll put it somewhere down here so it matches up with the style that I've got going on in my scene, right? So here's my style. Now, there's also a problem that I'm missing here. I'm missing text, right? I don't have jackpot written on top of here or something else. I just have the numbers. Let's undo that. Let's add the text in there next. So I'm going to kind of go in here, and it's going to be the text is going to be kind of on top here, and it's going to be something that's visible. I'm not going to use red. Maybe I'll use white or yellow. Something else that makes sense. It looks like maybe a white text might be good because I got these big white boxes, and you know that might be okay. So let's just try that. I'm going to kind of put some text up there, and I'll call this jackpot. I'll modify this text in a second so that it appears white. Let's say white on red. See how that looks. You got to kind of check it out here too. So I'm going to kind of move this so that the text object is kind of the size of my entire grid here, just so that way I know what I'm doing. Right, there it is. And then maybe in this case, I'd want to center it. There it is. So that's where my jackpot is going to be, my text object. Here's a question. Do I ever have to do this should I ever do this in my code? Should I do this in my code? Text. Why would I? If I can do it here, I'm going to render it anyway. It doesn't, CreateJS doesn't care how you render the bitmap, and text becomes bitmap any later on. Unless I want to copy this somehow, like do copy and paste operations, which I don't care to do, I'll never try and do this. I want to try and render as much onto my slot machine background as I can. That's what I want to do, right? Okay, cool. So let's just kind of bow out of this. So this is my jackpot. And then I want to kind of have the same thing. And maybe that's a little bit too high. So I'm going to kind of bring this down a little bit so it's closer to my object. Let's just scrunch it in, jackpot. And jackpot, I've kind of done lowercase characters. Maybe what I want to do is make it all like uppercase. Jackpot, right? And you can make it so that instead of jackpot being like this, you can make an exclamation mark, whatever. That's pretty cool. I want to take this text now and this number and this rectangle, copy it, and go down to over here and see how it's going to look when it's down in here, right? So does it fit? And I've kind of made it so that if I'm careful enough, it's going to be like this, right? I've kind of measured it a little bit so you can see that the gray background has to kind of match up with this one, this gray background, but maybe not exactly. There's got to be a bit of separation. This jackpot should probably, whatever it's going to be written here, like for example, credits, like character money, user money, credits. With my credits, this is what it's going to look like, right? And if I'm satisfied, we're just prototyping here, right? Before we get there. So I'll do one of these, and I'll copy it, I'll paste it, and then I'll move over to the side, and I'll take this one and put it over here again, right? And again, we can align this later on, but that looks pretty much aligned to the middle. So instead of credits, this is going to say bet. How much do you want to bet? And then do the same thing, kind of paste it. Oops, paste it. This whole object, and I'm going to take this and move it over. No, that's not it. I want to take that rectangle credits. Did I do it? I did, but it's probably pasted over there somewhere. You see? Yeah, it's probably over here somewhere. So this rectangle. This is the bet, the 0, the rectangle. And this is credits, 0, the rectangle. And this is jackpot, the 0, the rectangle. No, so I got to do it again. So bet, 0, the rectangle. And then copy, paste. Doesn't seem to do it, right? So copy. My copy and paste commands aren't working. Paste, I said. There, that's better. All right, and now I'll move it across. And notice that it kind of hovers around here. I got to be very careful how I do this because I want to be the same. I want to kind of space it out approximately the same. And I'm using this corner here, the corners as kind of orientation. So I'm kind of going up here, and let's see how this looks, right? So notice how the edge of my object is here. This is a little bit too low. I'm gonna have to bring this up a little bit. That's a little better, right? And this wouldn't be called bet, obviously, right? This would be called, result. How much money I won, winnings, losses, that kind of stuff, right? So did I win anything? So winnings or result. Usually if it says 0, that's a good sign I've lost, right? So credits, my bet, my result, and let's say this is my jackpot, and that's where it's gonna be. Okay, cool. Now I gotta save all this back. I gotta save all this stuff back to my prototype, my background, because I've got a bunch of stuff in here that I gotta get rid of. I don't mind my bet buttons in here. I gotta get rid of everything except for these things that I've added in. And I also wanna know, since we're here, approximately where these are gonna be. And this is gonna be kind of odd, guys and girls, I'll let you know, right? Because unfortunately for us, for fireworks, right? Notice how the top left corner here is over here, and I want to put it somewhere in here. Well, I know where this is, right? And I'm probably going to go down and to the right a little bit. So this is going to be a little bit more experimental, right? Where it's going to appear. If I click on this, it'll give me a hint of where it's going to be, and it's probably going to be to the right of where this is. Okay, so let me show you what I'm talking about here. So notice how that my X and Y coordinates for this object are about, 288 by 105, right? So I want it to be right justified, but I can't right justify this one in this particular case because I'm using it as a prototype. So let's just go back to left justifying. I'm not gonna center it either. It's important because remember, my text will start by default at the top left corner of my screen with no padding or anything else, right? So I want to kind of move this across to this, and I got to make it so that it appears exactly where I want it to be inside my graphic, like there, as an example. So now, if you notice, this is around 293 by 105. It's going to be slightly different than that. You'll see that 293 by 105 for text. So this will be my jackpot text. And then 293 by 105. I mark this down. Let's go back and make sure that's correct. X and Y, 293 by 105. My width and my height doesn't matter for text, but I'm going to put it down to 65 by 19 because that's what I've calculated. 65 by 19. Right, that's my width and my height. It won't matter because it's going to just adjust. Bitmap text, the way it works is it just kind of puts it out there. We're making it a label, right? So let's just do one of these. This is my jackpot text. Let's do the rest of them so we kind of notice what they are. My credits, again, it'll be the same thing. So I'll kind of left justify here. Let's justify them all. There we go. And I'm going to move my credits to the right a little bit. And this is kind of by eye. Same thing with this one. I got to be careful that they're all kind of aligned to some degree. Let's move that over by hand, nudge it a little bit. And the same thing goes here, let's nudge it. And I'll make sure that they're all at the same level. So this is all at Y is equal to 301. So 301, this has got to be 301. 301. And this is about 301, right? See how that looks. That looks pretty darn good. That's by eye, it's pretty good. So credits, the credit text is 194 and 301. So credits text 194, 301. The bet text is 291 by 301. 301, bet text. And then the last one is the result text, which is going to be somewhere around, from what it looks like, 390 by 301. 390. They're not exactly equal, eh? So running through a loop like this may not be the right solution. just FYI. And the way to tell this is if I go equal to this minus this, I see that I got 97 pixels between the two. And if I do the next one, equals to this minus this, I got about 99. Could make them the same, right? I could. And then I could run this through a loop, right? So credits, bet, and result could be run through a loop because they're all going around 301. And the only way that I can do that is to move these things slightly closer, or this one to the middle somehow. I think for now, I'm just going to practice that. I'm not going to do that through a loop, and I'll leave it as is because there's going to be some other issues. I'm going to have to move these around anyway. It's not going to be accurate, no matter how much I want it to be. My text has padding and stuff like that here inside Fireworks. It doesn't have padding or anything like that when it comes to being inside CreateJS. So even if I put the red amount in here, it won't be right. And again, these are all 65 by 19, so this is all the same. Not that I need it, because it'll adjust accordingly. All right, cool. So there's my jackpot text, my credit text, my bet text. I can get rid of it now. I can get rid of all this. So I don't have to, I'm going to blank it out. I don't need these ones because these are just my test criteria, right? And I don't need my buttons. So my buttons can all go away because those are just used for that purpose. And now this is my new background that I need to put. Here's my new background, right? And I need to cut it and kill the background layer and all that stuff as well, right? So one thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Modify Canvas, Canvas Color here, and I'm going to go from a white background to transparent. So I'm going back to this, right? And I'm going to go select all. So I'm going to select all my objects in my canvas, including my bitmap. There we go. And I'm going to flatten my selection so it's all one. Flatten selection. So this is one, and then I'll scrunch it up. That's my new background, which is 363 by 480. Remember we talked about this before, right? So I'm going to say File, Save As now. I'm going to go back to my slot machine graphic, which is this one, right? And save. So now my slot machine graphic is going to have this new stuff that it didn't have before. Okay? Let's see if that's correct. So just the way I've done it right now, I've just changed my slot machine graphic. So if I go back to here, and if I refresh, right, and go back to here, and you can see that it's not there. How come? I put it up there, I changed it, right? How come it's not refreshing? Sometimes, my friends, you know, even if I want to, you're better off doing one of these. And by the way, let's test it to make sure it's actually in the right place, because that would be bad if it wasn't. So here's my assets, images. What's that? Probably pulling from cache, right? So let me take a look at my slot machine. You can see that my slot machine graphic here, it is the right one, right? So I'm just going to launch that app again one more time. So I'm going to go in here and go new incognito window, up on localhost 8080, and go into there. And now we should see the differences. But whoa, what happened? How come it went over here, right? What happened? Why did I mess up? How did I mess up, right? Because I actually added the slot machine into my background and I didn't make it transparent. So let me just back up to fix this. But this is fine. Let's show you what I'm talking about. So it's okay. So I'm going to undo and undo and undo and undo and undo and undo. There we go. And then I'm going to kind of save, kind of make everything copied. Do that again. There we go. And now I will file, save as. We'll do it again, and I'll fix that problem. Actually, let's do that one more time. I didn't. Flatten selection. I need to flatten my selection. I don't mind about this piece. That's just going to come with the background graphic. It won't be transparent anymore. So I'll say File, Save As, and I'll go back to slot machine. Yeah. Save, replace. Okay, and let's go back into my files here. And I'll close this off, and I'll open it up again. And we'll go to localhost 8080, and we'll go to slot machine, and now we have everything back. So you see the credits are there, the jackpot, the blanks, and I can spin it, everything's good. We're almost there. Now I need to actually put values in there. Right, let's see how we can do that. Okay, so we've got our images. I know where they're supposed to go. My text is where it's supposed to go, and I want to initialize all of that with zeros, right? Because right now, for the beginning, I want to kind of put some text in there. I need 4 new objects: jackpot text, credit text, bet text, and result text. I need those 4 objects, right? Or I could call them jackpot label, credits label, bet label, and result label. I think I like that more. So that's pretty good. But what I'm really doing, right, the label is already there. The jackpot text is the stuff that's inside that area, right? It's not the stuff that's not a label. So jackpot text instead of label might be a little better. Okay, let's try this out. So again, I'm going back to code, and I'm going to go back into my scripts. I'm going to go into my scene, which is my slot machine scene. And on the top here, I need 3 new objects. So I'm going to add in. So let's add them in. So private. We're going to make it separate. So I'm not going to make it so that it's different things. I want to keep track of them separately, and I want to know what they mean. So jackpot text is going to be of type create.js. Now, there's some options here. I could use a label. Remember what we did with our label. Our labels, right, which I do have. If I'm going to go back to my menu for a second, notice that my label has some options, right? I have slot machine, my, whatever, and then is it center X and center Y as an example. And one thing to note is that each of my my objects, right, for my label, my registration point for my labels are all, this is where it comes, this is where it's bad. They're all center. So reg X and reg Y is equal to the center of my whole world here, right? But sometimes I don't want that to happen. So my X and Y coordinates are cool, but I want to do what I did with the start button, right? Start button and my label are almost identical. The only difference from my start button, it's got a button image, and my label doesn't have an image, it's just got a label. In fact, in most programming languages, what they have is that the label, a button is just a subclass of the label, right? That's usually what it is, right? It just adds more functionality. But for now, we don't have that. We don't have that. It's not done that way. Let's go back to our objects and modify our label objects. We can reuse it, is what I'm saying, instead of just using create.js .text. Okay, so here's this where it's happening. This regx and regY values, it's going to measure the bounds, how big it is, and basically say, hey, take half the width and half the height and put it there. That's cool, but I want to ask that question. If centered is true, right, which is going to happen up here, then do the next piece. And I'm going to get centered as true from here at the end. So I'm going to say, I'll call it is centered. There it is centered, and I'm going to make that a Boolean. Right, so is centered. Cool. That's part of my labels constructor function. Now that means that I have to go modify my other scenes because they have the old version of the label object, and now I'm making a new one. Okay. So what I'm really saying is this: if keeping everything the same, if is centered, right, then do this. Regx and regY then should be at the center. That's what I'm saying here. If it's true, then do this. If the label is calling for a centered label, then do this. Otherwise, don't do this, right? Just put it at the top left corner of the screen, wherever the registration mark or the focal point will be the top left corner of the label. And it's easier for me to do that with this stuff than try and fit the center, because the center for the label is wrong. Okay. So this is kind of our advanced label now, more of an advanced label. So I'm going to just transpile this. I'm going to have some errors. And the layers, I have 3 errors. I'm going to go back to my error checker right here from a debugging perspective. Here's one. My first error is in my game over TypeScript file. Notice that it's giving me all kinds of red because my game over label is centered is true. I can put that in. That's the one change I made. I added a true false flag if it's centered or not, right? Let's go to the next one. Let's fix all the errors. So I got 3 errors. Second error. All right. This is inside my slot machine. So where it's true as well, right? It's also centered. Cool. And we got one more error, which is inside here, right? Which I was starting to put the menu together, but instead of my jackpot text being a create.js text, I want to make it a objects.label, right? That's what I want to do. That's my last error. And I want to do that a couple of times for each of my different labels. Again, I could make an array of labels, but I don't want that. I want my jackpot text, my credit text, credits text, and my bet text. So I know what they are, bet text, and this is my result text. All be labels, that's what they are, okay? I've declared them, that's what this does. I've declared them as instance variables. They're private, but I haven't instantiated them, and I gotta do that somewhere. Well, we have a bit of a problem here. I wanna start paring this stuff down because this is, you know, it's getting a little unwieldy, so I wanna make, remember I talked about making this a method? Let's do that, let's extract a method. Now in Visual Studio, it's nice and easy. It's just right click or select all this, right click, and then click extract method, right? Like refactor extract method. Here in Visual Studio Code, no such way of doing that. So you can do that by creating a method down here somewhere, right? And I'm probably gonna put it before my event handlers. We're just gonna call this, again, notice how it's initializing array of bitmaps. So we'll say initialize bitmap array. That's what we'll call the method. And it'll be private, private initialize bitmap array. So this is going to be doing, or reals array, or whatever you want to call it, right? And then what's going to return void, all it's going to do is just do an action for us, right? And I'm going to take all this stuff out here, from all this stuff, grab all this. I'm going to go down here and put it in place and format. Just to be sure that I don't forget, I'm going to take this, which is really important to do, and put it back inside where I took it from, manual, right? This is my initialized bitmap array over here. In fact, you know, maybe I'll take that comment that I put in, which is this, and I'll put that there. So I don't forget. Just from a comment perspective, it's probably better up here than it is down there. There it is, and I can just get rid of that extra space. So this is my private initialize bitmap array method. That all it does is initialize my bitmap array. That's all it does. Well, I want to do kind of the same thing for my reals. I want to put them in inside my text, and I need to put them in again somewhere somewhere at the same level at the same time after everything else is put in. My spin buttons and all these things are in somewhere around here. Anything after my background image, my slot machine image, right? Anything after that, I want to put in. I want to do that. I want to put that you know, my text graphics in. All right, so let me do that. And I'm going to assign them right now. I'm going to assign them to 0. So they're going to start off with a 0 value. So it's going to, the text, remember, text boxes are just text. They're string values. And that means when I actually check to see if they have a value, I've got to change my text or from a string into an integer or back if I want to do that. Okay, let's check this out. So in here, underneath my spin button, I'm just going to put it in here before my initialized bitmap array and before all this other stuff. I'm going to start typing it in. So add, we'll say the jackpot label or text to the scene. We'll do this in a second. So this dot underscore jackpot text, right, is equal to a new objects label, and inside there we're going to put in a bunch of different things. For example, the label font, what we're going to use is Consolus. Now the size. This is something we have to take from our fireworks. What size did I use for this? Right. Well, if I go down to my text, I can see that I used around 14 points. So that's what I'm probably going to use for myself. I may have to change this. Just warning you guys, just in case you think it's a straight shot. It's not sometimes. This is where it gets a little bit different. So 14 pixel Consolus is the type, and I need a label string, so I'm going to put that in there too. So labels, that's the font, but my label string is going to be 0. And I gotta figure this out for a second. So 0 is where's that going to be, and 14 pixel Consolus is going to be there. And again, I gotta figure this out for a second, right? So we can see how this is going to work. All right, and the other one is let me just put this on the next line so we can see it all in order here. This 14 pixel Consolus, and the next one is my label color, which I'm going to make it red. So let's make it so it's FFRGB, And the next one is my X, Y, and Z components, and if it's centered or not. So X, Y, and Z. So again, going back to my thing here, it's there's one Z. X and Y is 293 and 105. So 293, 105 for my Y. And is it centered? The answer is false. It's not centered. This type. Okay. So 293, 105. Now let's see what this looks like, right? And remember, I also want to add this to the display, right, by using this.addChild spin button, or whatever, this.addChild jackpot text. This.addChild, this._jackpot text. There we go. All right, so let's do one. We'll do them all. We change them too many things, right? Do one, test it, then go back and see how it works. Otherwise, we're going to have a problem, right? So I'm going to transpile this, and I'm going to go back to my code here and refresh. Okay, see where it appears? 0. That's okay. But let's zoom in here because I want to really get an idea of where it really comes into play. Okay, this is what it really looks like. I'm kind of just zooming in so you can see it. And see how it's kind of a little bit too high? Remember I talked about this? Like it's not exactly perfect. It is what it is, peoples of the world, right? So it's got to go somewhere, right? And remember that when we type text, typically, it goes towards the right, right? It goes towards the right. It doesn't go towards the left. Left is left-centered. And what is that? How do we... Is there a value in our API documentation for createjs.text that allows me to, right justify or left justify that object? That's another thing we have to figure out. Is there such a thing, right? Because sometimes these low-level libraries don't have text manipulation this way. We have to figure it out by code, right? I need it to come down more. 293. This value that we got going on here is wrong. So it needs to come down. The left justification is okay. But the padding I got here, but this top portion needs to come down maybe about 3 or 4 pixels, I would gather, right? So instead of it being at X as 293, 105 is going to come 3 or 4 pixels, maybe make it 109 with an adjustment. So far, I'm thinking 4 pixels. So transpile, go back here and refresh. Start, and that's too much. So 4 pixels is too much. Let's go to 3 pixels. Sorry about this, guys. So go to 108, transpile, go back here, refresh, 3 pixels. Not bad, not bad. It's kind of in the middle, maybe even 1 less. Seriously, I'm sorry, I'm being a little picky, but this is my game, right? So I want to make it as crazy as I want. And refresh. And that seems to be right. So about 2 pixels. So I'm about off by 2 pixels, which means instead of deliberating, that's probably what everything's going to be. So I might as well move this down, move this to my Y coordinate, which is down the screen, to 302 or 303. So 3. That's probably what I have it at. Right? Yeah. Because this will be. I moved it down 2 pixels to 107, right? 107. So that's where I know this is going to be 303. Okay, again, I mean, you might say, Tom, why is this important? Why you want to be so accurate? This is your UI, guys. It's absolute positioning. You have to be very careful what you put in, or else it won't appear properly. If that makes any sense. Okay. Now we have to figure out in the API documentation, can I right justify or left justify? Is that possible? And if it is, can I make it so that the actual text box has a fixed width? Can I assign a width, set bounds, as opposed to use the get bounds method? So I'm going to use the API documentation here. I'm going to go to easel.js, right? And I'm going to go to my docs for easel.js. And I want to look at the text value. So this tells me that this is the text class. And here's some examples of what it does. This is what we've been doing this whole time. TextX, and here's text baseline. We got to look at what text baseline is. That's something new, alphabetic. right? Baseline. And notice in the constructor what it can take: the text, the font, and the color. That's all it takes in the constructor, like we have. All we've done is modified to make a label. But our label is a derivative of text, right? So we got to figure that out. Get measured height and width is cool. Is visible, local to global. Get transform bounds. Set bounds, set transform, uncache, will trigger, you know, all this other stuff. Cache, draw, some other properties. Cursor, filters, font, line height, and line width. That's important. That kind of tells us how it is. Text align. Oh, text align. Okay. A horizontal text alignment, any of start, end, left, or right, or center. For detailed information, view the, the spec. Default is left, right? And if I go here, it actually uses these different alignments, and it's the exact same alignment that we used to have in old CSS, the way we used to do it, right? So that's what this is. Text baseline is the vertical alignment point on the font, and you can do top, hanging, middle, alphabetic, and so on, ideographic, and bottom, right? So what we want is a text align right. So that's what we want for the string itself, text align right. I got a problem. What is my problem? Now I got lots of problems. Well, what's this problem, right? My problem is that I don't have a value. The size of my text right now, from a bounds perspective, is very small. It's only one character, right? So it's like 0. So if I align it to the right, so text align as the value, and then the value in quotations is right. That's the enumeration, right? Let's check this out. So let's try this out. So I'll say this.jackpot text blah blah blah, and then in the bottom I'll say, because it's still an object, this._ jackpot text align, right here, text align, right, is equal to right, because that's what I want for this one, right? So save, transpile, and that's what it does to my object. So I want to show you this so you see if there's any effect, right? Going back to here, I'll refresh, go down here, start, go into here, and what the hell? I said text line right. How come that's over here, right? It's actually accurate. The reason why is because this is where the object starts over here, right? So instead of it starting from here to this way, it's starting from here going that way. So wherever I put this thing, this object, this placeholder, it's going this way now. It's growing that way. That's good for us. That means that if I put this over here, it's going to grow this way. And I want to do that for all numbers. I want to do that for my bet, for sure, right? I want to do that for my money. And I want to do that for my winnings, right? So instead of it being centered, I want it to be to the right. Okay, cool. That means I got to move it way over. And if I know that that's true, I might as well test it. I might as well test it with fireworks, right? Because I've got more of control here instead of doing random numbers. The up and down alignment I already have, and my left and right alignment is what I'm looking for. So let's do that first. So we're going to go in here, and I'm going to go in here, put this back in here, and just type a number like 0. Here's my 0, and don't worry about my alignment because it's off. Because you see, I have top and bottom padding. I don't care about that. I care about this. So I want to start somewhere, as an example, looks like 343, maybe 342 pixels, something like that, right? In to the right. And if that's true, if my number, by the way, this is the top left corner that I'm looking at, this top left corner is the 343 or whatever it's going to be over here. But I want it to start over here. And the way to do that, of course, is I want to change my anchor, right, from where it is to the right. Or I can calculate what this is by starting something there as well. So I'm going to copy it. Bear with me while I show you what I'm talking about here. Copy, paste. Now, right at the corner, right, I'm going to align just to the right of this one. And then we're going to have the exact amount. See? That's about right. See that it meets right there. This is where the top right is going to be. And now, from a positioning perspective, it's about 353 pixels. Okay. Now, this is where this becomes interesting. 353 is 50 pixels. 50 pixels to the right, right? Every single time. Oh, sorry. 353 from here, from the x coordinate, not the y coordinate, which means that is equal to this, right, minus 353, which is about 159 pixels to the right. That's where it's going to go. That's what this thing is going to do, right? 159 pixels. Does that make sense? Because we started at x is equal to 194, or sorry, we did the wrong one. There we go. 60. That makes sense. That makes more sense. 60. So 60 pixels to the right is what's happening. So 60 pixels to the right, that means I can add 60 pixels to these ones, right? So I can say this is equal to, if it's 60, is equal to this plus 60. Is equal to this is the great thing, plus 60. Tell, right? So that's the new positions. There we go. And just to show you what I'm talking about, if I put it up here, it's going to give me that 353, right? So these are the new positions that I want. So I'm going to copy these, and I'm going to paste them over here. Paste special, just the value, and I can get rid of this, right? 353. These are the new values. 353. What I meant to do is do this, copy over here, and paste in the new values. I'll be okay. Getting tired, guys. It happens at the end of the day, right? That's the new values, all right? And I can get rid of all this. All right, so these are the new values. So that means this new jackpot.text should be 353. Let's check it out and see if I'm right. So I'm gonna go back to this, and this now instead of 293 is 353, and we'll check my assumption out. And I'm gonna transpile. I'm gonna go back to the thing here, refresh. I know it seems long, but it doesn't appear. If you don't put it right, then it won't look right. See, nice and beautiful there. And we're going to put the rest of them in there now. Okay, let's check this out. So we're going to go to here, and we'll copy all this, and we need to add it 3 more times, right? So 1, 2, 3. Okay, now we're just going to change all the names. All right, so this is, instead of jackpot text, this is credits text. Credits text. And now, humor me here when I do this, because when you see this, you're going to get a little bit crazy when I do it. And there might be some spelling mistakes, or positioning mistakes. 353 is not going to be 353 anymore. It's going to be 254. So we'll change as we go. Right? Did I change the right one? No, of course not, Tom. 254. And this won't be jackpot text. It'll be credits text. Credits text. This will be bet text. So this is going to be bet text. And this is going to be bet text. And this is not going to be 254 anymore. This will be 351. Here I'm going with this, guys, right? I hope you understand what I'm doing, because if you don't set this up properly, it won't respond or look right. And then, you're going to be like, Tom, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how I got this, kind of thing. Results. I can't balance my text objects out properly or whatever. And I'm going to go, well, I understand, right? This is 450, and I understand what we're wrong. You didn't measure things right. Result text. Remember, we're building UIs in this section. That's what we're doing, right? So this all there now. This is results. Okay, cool. We've got it all. I'm going to transpile, and I'm going to add in. I'm going to see if it works by going here. I'm refreshing, and I just want to see what it looks like when I'm making it big so you can all see it, and so can I. And oh, what happened? 107. What did I do wrong? That text result text. Did I reverse them again? X. What was that? That makes no sense. Yeah? X. No, but no, that's okay because 353 is at the top. 254 starts over here. Then it goes to 351 and 450. So that's correct. Because the one in the middle is 353. In the middle of the 640 by 480, right? So 640, roughly around the middle, 300 and something is in the middle. This is starting on the left, right? Because this is the left where the credits start. This is 351, which is, again, roughly in the middle, right? And then 450 is on the right. That's correct, right? But what is it doing? That's another thing. Let's take a look at our code here, right? So X and Y, right, is what we're doing here. And 351 and 107, right? 107. That's what's happening. This is correct, but this is not. So it's not 107, it's 301, if I'm not wrong. Okay, Tom, I'll be okay. I'll be awake one day. Oh, 303, sorry, 303. Like, let's not mess with those 2 pixels, right? Oh, how it is. Okay, here we go. Save, transpile. This is before any calculations, by the way. We haven't done any calculations yet. All we're doing is put a positioning, right? Refresh. Who says games are easy? Please put up their hand. Yeah, there it is. Make sense? 0, 0, and it's perfect, right? It looks perfect, it's exactly aligned. Aligned to the right, which means when I add text, I'm hoping it's going to go this way, right? I haven't tested it yet, and we got to add some values. Okay, so let's set up our jackpot. Remember, we said our jackpot's going to be $5,000 or 5,000 credits or whatever it's going to be. So how do I do that? So inside my up here in my code, I have my grapes and everything else, and I want to direct you now to look at, remember, we're starting to fool around with stuff that we don't have. I don't have variables here that I had before. Let's take a look at the original code that we had for slot machine and see what I did, because now we're digging back into that code. Why am I going to reinvent the wheel if I have that logic already, right? So I'm going to go back in there. So I'm going to go back to GitHub, and I'm going to go to, oh yeah, this is incognito mode. Sorry, let's go back to this GitHub. We'll go back to a new GitHub, right? There we go, new window. I'm not going to search around for it. GitHub, it's probably buried in the back there. And I know that inside my profile, if I view my profile, in my repository somewhere, if I do a search, slot machine, there it is. And if I go through this, the slot machine example, this is where you would find it under JavaScript in my main.js, I can see that I have player money, winnings, jackpot, turn, right? I don't care about wins and losses. I'm not going to do that kind of statistics in this case. But my player money, my winnings, my jackpot, that's important. Those 3 things. So I'm going to use these exactly. And the reason why is because I'm going to copy another piece of code from here. And I don't want to redo it. I can always redo it later on. So I'm going to copy this. I'm going to go back into my code. And I'm going to pop those in probably up here, right? So they're going to be, instead of using var, I can't use var, right? Because I'm in a class, so I'm going to use private. So I'm going to just change the var to private. I'm just going to format my code, and I'm going to leave them as is for now. When I copy the code, then I'll refactor later, right? Because otherwise, if I change it now, it's bad. The other thing is I've got these values in here. I don't want to do that, and I also want to assign a type. So this is a number. We're translating from JavaScript to TypeScript here. Jackpot. And there's player money, winnings, and jackpot. They're all values, right? And I want to initialize them somewhere else, right? So, somewhere down here, I'm going to initialize values. And I want to be able to reinitialize those values again. Knowing that I'm probably going to do that, there's probably a function here that resets something like this one, reset all. I'm probably going to call this again, this reset all function, right? Where I have my player money, my winnings, my jackpot, and all this other stuff. But my reset all function or reset, so I'm gonna have a reset button, right? Oh man, I'm missing my reset button and my power button, right? I need those two. We'll come back to that. All right, so let's go do that. First, I'm gonna go to my down here in the dumps. Before my private methods are called, I've got my public. Sorry, I shall make it a private reset all, right? So I'm never gonna call it from outside this function. So I'll probably put it in here after the check range and before my spin reels, I'm going to go in here and do a reset all, private reset all function, private underscore reset all. And what I'm going to do that is I'm going to say this dot player money. I'm going to reset them back to their values, right? So if I go back up to here, right, I'm going to get these values. I'm actually going to do all this, copy this, and go back down to here into my reset all function. And I'll get rid of the private in a second. So I'll get rid of this, this, and this, and just add a this in front of it. And get rid of my typing. Then I'll format everything back to normal. So now that I've done that, this reset all method, format, I don't need to do that up here, right? Because I can just set these to nothing. All I'm doing here is declaring them, right? So they're just types. Right, there we go. So I've done all that already. By the way, we'll mess with this later on. This scrapes tally and all that stuff. Again, we're just translating. So this reset all method's got to be called, right, somewhere. Reset all or initialize, whatever. But I'm probably going to call it somewhere in the beginning of my start method again, right? Now, this does not depend on, it's not a graphic image. It's not a graphic object, so I can probably put it anywhere. Probably right here. So I'm going to call the reset all this dot underscore reset all. There we go. And what this does is reset all, reset the game. Reset the game. Initial values. Yeah. This does. Okay, cool. So we've got that done. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, well, instead of it being 0, right, it's going to be the value of this dot, player money, jackpot, blah, blah, right? So that's what the value is going to be. They're just string values. But hold on a second. We get a problem, right? My player money, my winnings, and my jackpot, that doesn't say that. It's actually numbers. And I can't put a number down here. So can I use the toString method? Is there such a method for that? Can I convert from one to the other? Or is there another method? Who knows what the method is in JavaScript? It's not a toString method. If I go something like this, if I go, I'm going to put it in here so you can see it. If I go something like the number, so this dot underscore player money or jackpot, right? Dot toString. I can try that, and it says it's going to take my returns a string representation of an object. I can try this, my jackpot to toString. I could. It's a number. That's what I want to do, right? This option here. So I want to take my jackpot and put it to string. There's another way to do that though, and let's just do this. So I'm taking my jackpot and throwing it in here instead of this value. So I'm just going to do one of these when I declare it for the first time. Let's see what do I get that, right? And do the same thing down here. So I'm going to say credits, right? So this is player money. So this dot player money dot toString, right? That's what that's going to be. And this down here is going to be the bet, right? Oh, my bet. I don't have a bet, do I? Player money, winnings, and jackpot. Well, let's put bet. Private. I think it's called player bet. No. Where did I put it as? Player money. I missed it. Player bet. It's called player bet with a capital B. It's important because remember we're translating. Player bet is a number. Okay? I missed that one, so that's going to be here under player bets. So this dot player bet dot toString. There we go. And the last one is the result text, which is actually winnings. I think I called it winnings, yeah? Result text. So this dot winnings, toString. And let's transpile that just like that, right? Because I want to make sure that it's out there correctly. So transpile, and I'm going to go back up here to here and refresh, go to starts, and what the hell happened? I told you. You want to know that the toString works, right? But it says uncaught error, cannot read properly toString of undefined. And that's line 56, which is right here. bet text is equal to player bet dot toString. Oh man, what's my player bet has to be initialized somewhere too. I forgot to do that. Let's go back. Error after error, right? Okay, right here. This dot player bet initially is 0, right? Transpile. Go back to here. Refresh. Localhost. Go, and yay, 1,000, 5,000, right, and 0. Right, so we don't have a result, we don't have a bet. We have our credits are 1,000, and our jackpot is up here. Yeah. So that's how we're going to do it. So that looks okay. 5,000 credits. It's going to go from the right, and that's our credits, the total amount of money we have right now, and our bet and our result. Now that we have those values, I can test to see if I have enough money, right? So here's the thing. When I click the button, bet 100, what am I doing? I take money away from the bet, right? So away from my credits, I remove that money, and then I add that into the bet amount, right? That's what I'm doing. So bet amount, my player bet, is equal to this minus this, and then my money is equal to this minus the bet amount. I got to do that, right? So let's do that next. And I want to be able to do that one time because I've got a bunch of bets, a bunch of different things, 1 credit, 10 credits, blah, blah, blah. And you're going to see that it's the exact same code over and over again, which means a method, right? Let's try this out, though. So I want to say if I bet 1, let's do the 1 first. What I'm really saying is this dot bet, player bet, is equal to 1, right? I need to do that. And then after it's equal to 1, I'm going to say this dot player money. I'm going to subtract the money, right, from the bet. When you do it, it's done. This dot player money is equal to this dot player bet, right? Minus equal to this dot player bet, right? So it's like saying this dot player money is equal to this dot player money minus player bet, right? That's what this minus equals mean. It's a shortcut. All right, cool. This is the exact same way I want to do it. And then I want to update my labels everywhere, right? Well, that means that I got to do something like this. I got to say, and since I'm updating my player money and my player bet, right? Those are the two things I'm going to update. So I'm going to say this dot credits text, right? Dot text, the text value of my credit text is equal to this dot player money dot toString. Right? So I'm converting from whatever it was, the actual number value to string. That's what I'm doing, right? And at the same time, I'm going to go this dot underscore bet text is equal to this dot player bet dot toString. Okay, that's a lot, right? That's like 1, 2, 3, 4 lines. I have a player bet, my player money, right? And all I'm doing here is do this, and I don't want to type this every single time for 1, 2, 3. And what if you have 10 buttons? You do the same thing over and over again, which means I need some kind of method, which I'm probably going to put somewhere over here, which is a private method. Let's do that. So I say, I'll say something like, you know, we're actually betting now, right? So bet. So actually, you know, do the bet or bet. What's a recommendation for a method? Anybody? I want to do the bet. I want to do the perform all the bet operations. Do bet. Okay, I could do the do bet. It's kind of weird. And then I also want to update. I also want to update my player money and all that kind of stuff, right? So do bet does a little bit of updating, but then I'm going to do my winnings too, right? So I'll do that. Do bet, sure. I'll go what you just said. You guys are the masters, right? Do bet. I can't help it. All right, and I want to pass something in. I want to pass what I'm betting, right? The value of the bet, right? So that's what's going to go in here, which means I need a value. So we'll call it player bet, like lowercase, and we'll say it's a number. That's what it means. So player bet is going to come in here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all this and put it in here, right? And player bet then is going to say minus whatever it's going to be. Just a number, right? I mean, I'm going to put a number in there, right? The number is going to come into play here, and then I'm going to say something like this dot underscore player bet or player bet. So I want to record it too, right? So player bet is equal to player bet. It's going to come into the constructor of this method, right? And then we get rid of all this, and I'm going to say do bet. That's what I'm going to call it, right? I'm going to say do this dot underscore do bet, and we're going to pass in 1. Now I can just do 10 and 100, right? And we've got that piece done, right? So do bet of 1. You guys are choosing the names. We can always change it later, right? Do bet of 10 and do bet of 100. You know what? I don't like do bet. I like make bet. That makes more sense. So let's just rename that. I'm sorry, I can't take it. I can't take it. No. Make bet. Yeah, make bet. Because making a bet is what you're really doing. Make a bet, right? Place bet. That's another one. Place bet, right? Okay. Yeah, okay. I'll change it to place bet. No, so make bet. Make bet, place bet. Okay, so make bet of 1, 10, and 100. I think place bet might be more human readable. I can't do it, guys. I can't. I got to do right. Place bet. There you go. All right, place bet. Place bet of 1 or 10. So that's what this does. When I press the button, it does that. Okay, cool. Here's something. What if I haven't spun the reels and I press the button? So I press the button, but I haven't spun it. Does it keep taking money away from my stuff and adding to my bet? Or do I want it to replace the bet? Should add. Every time I keep adding, and I can't subtract. Once I put it in there, once I put the coins in, it's done, right? That's the real slot machine too, right? Press the money, it's done. You can't take the money out of your machine anymore, right? So same kind of idea, right? So I mean, again, this is a design decision. Everyone can make this a little different. But for me, my slot machine, this one here we're going to do right now for winter 2016, you press the money in there, it's gone, right? Let's see what happens. So I just transpiled and refresh, and I start. I'm just making it big so you can see this now. So if I press 1, it goes 9.99 and 1. If I press 10, it adds 10, but that's wrong, right? Because on my bet it should add to my bet, right? It shouldn't take away from my bet. If my bet was 0, which is what it is, I'm replacing my bet. That's not right. So that's not cool. But I'm taking my money away, right? Not cool at all. Right? Okay. And something else. Should I not add to my jackpot whatever I bet? Put back onto my jackpot because I want to make more money eventually. I want to be able to win that big jackpot, right? I'm just saying. I don't know. There's just ways of doing that, right? So okay, let's just fix this place bet. So my place bet function, right? It's going to take my player bet is equal to player bet, but it's actually not. It's plus equal. So whatever it was before, if it was 0, as an example, blah, 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 right? Okay, here's something else. When I spin the reels, right? When I spin the reels, after I'm done spinning the reels and I show my result, my player bet's got to go back to 0, right? That's the thing that I need to do. Okay, so we have to check that. We have to remember that in our head later on as we go forward. Okay, so I'm going to transpile, go to here, go to here, and refresh. Let's get rid of this now. We don't see this. I'm just going to show you the slot machine starts. And then we place a bet, 1 and 10. Now it goes 11 and 100, and maybe add some more. And we can keep on adding it until, oh man. Right? Can't. It's going to stop us. It'll go, meh, you know, something like that. Meh, meh. Like you won't allow me to do it. It'll play a sound. If I keep going beyond where I have money, I should be able to spin, no problem. But it should, when my money's gone, my money's gone. Right? Hey, here's something else. How is it that my player bet is 322, but my credits are 0? I added 1,000. I had 1,000 credits. Let me show you that again. Right? That's something. This is something weird right there. Right? Okay. 100. This is good. 300, 400. What happened? It stole my money, right? Something's wrong. Calculations are wrong, man. They're wrong. Okay. Player bet 100. Let's try this again, right? So now I have 9, right? 7, 300. What happened? Right? That's not right. What I need to do is every time I press the button, every time I press this button, right, it's adding, it continues to add to my bet amount, right? That's not right. Let's go back and try it again one more time. So let me see the effect, the error that I got. Is this a syntax error? No. This is a logic error, right? So now this is the first thing I took it, that's right. Press it again. I got 200 here, but now I've taken 200 away. It's incremented somehow. Right? Took my bet and added to it. That's not right. And it's somewhere in my code. Let's take a look and see what I've done wrong. Here it is. I said my player bet, which I'm keeping track of, is plus equal to that. So now my player bet just went up. No, this isn't right. It's not right at all, right? It shouldn't be this way. I shouldn't even keep track of this right here. Now I'm thinking to myself, do I even need a player bet, right? I'm keeping track of it, right? But why am I using that at all? Player bet string is not this. It's my local variable that I'm sending in there, and I'm never really need to keep track of my player bet ever because it should be always wiped out, right? So if that's true, then I can do one of these. Yes? I won't use this. I'll just use this. I'll say, yeah, because the thing is, if I don't do that, you're right. If I have to leave that the thing up there for now, but you'll see. So I'm gonna save this, and otherwise I'm stealing people's money. I don't want to do that. Not this way anyway. Steal money. We want to steal money the right way, playing the game. Right? That's the way we steal money. All right. Let's try it again. Bet 100. Okay, it's a little better now. We can now we can wait a minute. That's not right, right? So that's not right. What happened? So we definitely want to equate it. We want to increase the player bet amount, but we don't want to set the text. We want to take away from the money. The player's money has got to be taken away, right? So player money is minus equal to player bets, right? The one that came in inbound, that's the player money, right? It's going to go in there, right? But I don't want it to come into this. I want the actual player bet, the one that I've added in already. That's what's going to be added in there, right? So which one is it? So this dot player bet is equal to the player bet. That's the first thing, right? Okay, now this one, is it the player bet? This one here for the player money? Minus equal to that? It is, right? But this one down here is this one, right? Is that good? All right, thank you, Francis. If it wasn't for you, true, I wouldn't be able to do anything here. Getting tired, 6:10. All right, back, 100, 800, 10, and then we'll keep adding to it. Now we're good, right? Until we get to the point where it comes to this, when we get to minus 41, we have to check for that. So we won't be able to press on it. If it's too much, we want to not stop it. It's going to be 0. You can't go on because you don't have enough. It'll go, it'll make that sound. We don't have that sound yet, but it won't allow us to go below the number. And how do we do that? We make a check. We say if, so here's my player bet. We have to do a check before we do any of this stuff, right? We're going to say if player bet, right? Player bet is greater than this dot underscore or player money, right? If it's greater than that, actually we'll do it if it's less than that. If it's less than or equal to player money, then do this, right? Else make a sound. But we're not going to make a sound right now. We're just going to leave it as just an if statement. So cut and paste and format code. Okay, and save and transpile is my place bet. And now it won't allow me to go below. Yes? If what? No, because that's not the truth. The truth is I'm trying to go below 0. So I don't want to take him all his money. I'm going to say you can't do it because you're too much. Like, You can try and do it with your bet numbers. No, because that means he's going to take all his money. Right? I don't want that to happen. It's like it should ask you. It should ask you, do you want? Right? So if my player bet is less than or equal to the player money, right, then I'm good. Right? If it's equal to how much money he has or lower, okay. If it's greater than the player money, can't do it. Right? I'm not gonna do something else like that. I'll play a sound. Man, that's it. Okay, it's transpile. Go back here and refresh, and then start it, and let's see what happens. So I'm gonna bet. Take a couple of things up here, and then bet, and then can't do this, but I can do this, right? If I do this, no problem. But I can't do this anymore because there's no more 10s, but I can do 1s. Right? That makes sense, and I won't go below this. I can't go below 0, right? So now the bet mechanism is functioning. Good. Now, I won't be able to spin, can't spin unless my bet is greater than 0, right? That's my next step, right, for this. So I'm gonna go back to this, right? And when I do the spin button, right? So I won't even allow myself to spin the button, right? With this reels and the bitmap and everything. I won't do any of this stuff unless my bet is greater than 0. I'll check that. So if this dot player bet, the player bet up here, player bet, right, is greater than 0, then do this stuff. Otherwise, play the button, sound again, which we don't have yet, which we will get. Right? Okay, so we want to put this. We want to check to see. So this is where we'll do some comments. So check or ensure player has enough money to bet. Ensure player has enough has enough money to play. Right? And this check up here is ensure player's bet is less than or equal to player's money. That's what we want to check that up, because otherwise he's trying to bet more than he has. Right? We don't want that. So that's our check. Transpile. Right? Let's check this out. Go back to here. Right? Now I have my bet is 1,000. Let me just refresh. My bet is 0. My bet is 0. Can I spin? Nothing. In fact, you know what I could do? I could change my cursor, right? I can't do it right now, but I could change my cursor so when I have 0 money, it's going to show me that no, I can't do it. It's the no cursor sign, not allowed, right? Or I can gray it out. I can gray out my, my object, make it disabled or whatever until I bet something. So I bet 10. Now I can spin, and now it works, right? And notice that the bet stays there. It doesn't reset, right? So I can keep betting until I have no more money, right? Now here's something else that happens. When I press spin, that's another thing that happens, right? The bet amount has to be reset, right? I got to reset the bet amount to 0, right? Okay, so let's do that. That's the next one. See where the logic that's going on, right? I got to adjust it all to make sense and to make sure it works. All right, so cool. So if the player's bet is blah blah blah, spin those reels, calculate if I made any money, right? The assets that get result, show everything, right? And then what I'm going to say down here, if my player's money is greater than 0, is, well, guess what? I'm going to say this dot player bet and is equal to 0 after I've done the spin. Okay, so reset the bet. Right? Okay, let's try that out. And let's go back and try that again. Right, so we're going to go back to this and refresh. These are all little changes, right? By the way, I could have done commits for each one of these things. Every time I go back and change something, keep doing that over and over again. Okay, so can I spin? No. I bet 100. Spin. Oh man, it did it actually, but I didn't show it. So let's go back. Right? Okay, so I got to say this dot underscore bet text, right, as an example, dot text is equal to this dot player bet. I'll just do this like this. Oh, I could set it to 0 too, right? But just to be clear what it is, two string. There you go. And I'll put that in as a comment. So reset player's bet to 0. Okay. And as you see, I'm trying to comment as I go. I'm trying to tell you as I go too, which is kind of hard to remember. But just keep in mind what I'm trying to do here. Okay, cool. I've reset, fresh. Okay, bet 100, spin, back to normal. Let's spin again. No. Bet a few more things. Spin, back to normal. I can do this, no problem. But as soon as I spin, back to normal. Right? We've got it to the point now where I can put my second function in for my code, which I don't have time today, right, to figure out the bet amount or the winnings. There's another function in here that I check to see if I won or not. And it's down in here. I got 2 minutes. I don't think I can do this, right? But it's called determine winnings, right? So I want to determine the winnings based on what my tally is. Right? There's my tally. My tally, remember, it keeps track. My grapes keep track of how many how many I add in there, right? My grapes, how many grapes, how many this, how many that, and then it figures at the bottom that my my grape tally has to be, kind of reset, right? And notice I do that. In here, I have this is what my original function would be. And when I call my spin button, this is the original spin button that I had way back, right? I called the spin button, I determine my winnings, and then I show my player stats. That's what I've been doing in one blow. And there's going to be somewhere where I reset my stuff, like my loss number, my winnings, my show winning message. I can do that, all that stuff. But there's got to be somewhere where I stop tallying. So somewhere in here. Now notice on the top, I have a reset all, and I also have a reset fruit tally, because I got to reset this fruit tally somewhere, right? Otherwise, I'm going to keep tallying to oblivion. It's going to keep going and going and going. I'm going to keep on tallying this thing, right? So where do I reset my fruit tally? I do it on when I show my loss message or show my win message. As soon as I know how much I won or lost, right? And that's inside a function. And I'm going to determine how much I won or lost, right? I'm going to reset my fruit tally. So that's what I need to do, right? But this winnings here, this determine winnings, I can put this in the way it is. Why? Because winnings is equal to player bet. Here's winnings. And I got to put this dot winnings and this dot player bet and all those things, right? That's where it takes a little bit more than 2 minutes. Let's try this out, see if I can get it in before we stop for the day. So it's all up here. Okay. Up to here, copy, go back to here. And then I'm going to add this in as another function. You can see how this is getting pretty hairy, right? But that's okay. We'll put that before we do this other one. We'll make it a private function that we're going to call, right? So kind of put that in there like this. You can see I got all kinds of errors. And we're getting these errors because this is a function before, and now it's going to be a private method, which returns void. Now, do I return void? Yes. I don't return anything. And where I see this dot blanks is equal to 0, remember that I have a bunch of blanks, bananas, grapes, all this kind of stuff. I need to add those in there. That's what I'm calculating for the tally. Lucky me, I have to change things. So I'll say this dot underscore blanks equal to 0. And I'll take this dot underscore because that's what I'm going to need for all these other things. So this dot grapes, right? This dot bananas. This is oranges, cherries, bars, bells, sevens, grapes. Was there another way to do this? By the way, there is. And it's going to be done. You can do this in 2 lines. All this stuff. You can use regular expressions to check to see what you've got out of that comes out of your array. And you can check to that big string array. You can concatenate the string array into one big string and check how many sevens, how many this, how many that. And you can do that in like 3 lines, not all this. You wouldn't even need tallies anymore. I'm going to tell you what to do, but it's more challenging. That's why I haven't included it here. Okay, so that's this dot player bet. Now I'm going to do this dot winnings. I believe this dot winnings is what it is. And this dot player bet, which is here, which means that I need to do this dot now for all those. Bear with me, guys, before you go. And if the reason why I can't do cut and paste or I can't do find restore or find replace is because I've got this player bet all over the place, and it would mess me up. I can't do it like right now. But it's not that many replacements, and I'm going to make this thing work for you. And we're gonna spit up. For now, we're gonna spit it up to the console, and that's where I'm gonna have to stop. You have to do the rest. And you can see where I'm going. I'm gonna whatever I get from my winnings, I'm gonna display in my my result text, right? Okay, here's my win number and my show win message. I don't have that. If I get this, my win number is plus plus. If I do any of these things, I win. Right, so this, instead of my win number being plus plus, I'm going to output my my win. So console.log win. Right, that's what's happening here. I got a win. Show my win message. Right, so you won. I don't need that. Let's get rid of this. And loss number. We'll say loss. Loss. Right. I don't need to show my loss message. What I do want to know is this winnings. Here's the winnings. Once I go through this, the winnings are going to be displayed, right, on that result, right? So when I run through this, at the end, no matter what happens, whether I win or lose, my winnings will be 0, or they're going to be whatever they're going to be, right? So this is where I can do something down here. And here I can say, this dot underscore results, result text. Dot text is equal to this dot winnings, right? That's what it's going to be. Dot toString, right? That's what's going to happen. The winnings are going to go to the result text, and then what else? The winnings are going to be added into the player bet or the player money. So I'll say this dot player money, right, is equal to or plus equals to this dot winnings, right, and then this dot credit text dot text is equal to this dot player money dot toString. Seven. What do you mean? Where? What numbers? Else if here. Oh, this. No. Doesn't matter what happens. If it's 0, it stays 0. If my winnings is 0, right, then it's going to be 0. My winnings, right? Where? If the number of 7s is 1, if the number of 7s is 2, if the number of 7s is 1 or 2, depending if you have 1 or 2 7s, 7s is the tally that I'm having, right? That I'm talking about. One thing I need to do is also I got to reset my tally. So I'm going to do something like this. I'm going to say this dot underscore reset. I don't have this fruit tally. 1 second. I'll be right with you. And my reset fruit tally, which I haven't written yet, is going to be somewhere else down here. Reset fruit tally, right? And where you have something like this, all these, that's why I separate it like this, right? And here, right, where I'm going to reset my fruit tally after I do that calculation, right? I don't need the privates, but I do need the thises. Bear with me 1 more second, gentlemen, and sorry, Pshemik, give me 1 second. I'll be finishing in a second, right? So get one of these, and all I'm doing is resetting my objects so that they work properly. And what I'm doing here is now I don't have to calculate, so I'm going to reformat my code. And once I've done this, if I haven't done anything wrong, and I did this in like a few minutes, so I probably did something wrong. It's just going to be the way. All right, let's check this out and see what I got here for my slot machine. All right, so that's the thing. So okay, let's refresh. So I start my slot machine, and then I have to bet something. There's 100 spin. I lost, right? Because I got blank, orange, blank. So that was a loss. 100 spin, cherry, orange, banana. Oh man, that should have been a win, right? And I should have had more money. So it doesn't show my result. That's one thing I didn't show, my winnings. But my money, did my money change? I know why it didn't work, right? Because I never called I never called this determine winnings function anywhere, and I got to do that inside my here after I bet, right? So when I bet, I can do all this stuff. I can clear my player bet off, and I can determine my winnings, which is right here. Sorry, this dot underscore determine winnings. Right, there we go. One more time, and then see you later. Whatever, regardless of what happens here. Refresh, hit down, boom. Oh, banana, banana blank. Okay, go. Oh, up. Oh, yes, baby. And now it's working. And now you can see that I can win, but is it resetting? It's not resetting. So that's not. So the next thing is I forgot to reset, guys. That's all I have. That's all I have time for. Good luck on Monday. I'll upload this to GitHub, and away you go. Okay, thanks so much.